Do you want to automate your Excel workflows? I'm sure you do. I mean, who doesn't? So in this video, I will show you how to connect Excel to over 1,000 applications and how to build powerful automation workflows all without writing a single line of code. You will see how to send emails, post Slack messages, build web forms, and even analyze data all with just one click of a button. Now these are just a few examples, but once you have seen what's possible, I'm sure you will come up with your own automation ideas too. Also, towards the end of the video, we will build one of those automation workflows together step by step. Now all you need is my Excel add-in called XLPrompt, which you can download from the description box down below. Alright, so let us jump right in and let me show you the examples I have prepared for you. Alright, so for the first example, let us send some emails. And Excel is perfect for that because you can personalize bulk emails using regular Excel formulas. So, for example, when I click into the subject field, you can see that I'm using a formula to build it. In this case, I want to let a few companies know about an upcoming price change for some of my products. And I did the same thing also for the email body. So when I click here, you will see that I'm using all this info here to create the email content. Now to send all those emails, I will just select the full range and click the Send to Webhook button. Next, I will enter my webhook action and I will explain what it is and how it works in just a second. But for now, I will just type in Send Email here. And just like that, those emails get sent out. Once done, I will get a message box, and here I can also see the result showing that the emails has been sent. So to double check, let me go over to my email inbox. When I hit refresh, we can see our emails right here. And just like I said, each email now is personalized. So every subject line and also the body content is different, just like we set it up in Excel. Alright, next up, let us send some Slack messages also directly from Excel. Here I've entered the Slack channel ID and the message I want to send. Now, just like before, I will just select my range, press the button again, but this time I will write Send Slack. Again, in the response message box, we can see that the messages have been sent. So that means if I go to my Slack account, we should now see the two messages. And yep, here they are. Alright, and with that, let us move on and create an entire website directly from our Excel data. So this can be super useful if you want to create a quick survey after a presentation or something like that. So that means here I've added the survey title and a few questions. Now if you look at my data, you will now see that my headers are in the first column instead of the first row. So before I create the website, let me quickly open the settings. Here under the General tab, I will set the header location to first column. And since we are already in the settings, let me also show you a few other options. So in the Webhook tab, you can choose where you want the result to show up. So far, we've always seen a message box that shows the result. But this time, since we are getting a website URL back, it is probably easier if we send the response directly to a selected cell. So I will pick this option here and then I will save and close the settings. Alright, and with that done, I will select my range again, click the Webhook button and enter the action Create Website. Next it asks which cell I want the output in. So I will click this one here and hit OK. Alright, and just like that, we get back the website link. So let me go ahead and copy this URL to my clipboard, open a new browser tab and paste it in. Alright, and here we go. Now we have our live feedback form. So once again, this is really a quick and simple way to make a survey without using Microsoft Forms. Because all you need to do is to update your Excel sheet, select your question and send the data via the webhook. Then you will get your website URL, which you can share with your team or colleagues. Alright, and with that, let us move on to the last example. In this one, we are going to use AI. So imagine you've got a weekly sales report and you need to fill out the comment section for the management. So well, we could ask AI to summarize the report for us. But before we do that, let me adjust the settings again. Because as you can see, this data has the headers in the first row again. Also, this time I would like to get the response output in a new sheet. So I will select this option here and then again save and close my settings. Alright, with that in place, I will once again select my data, click the Send to Webhook button, and this time my action will be Analyze Data. Once the AI has analyzed the data, we will get back the result in a new sheet, just like you can see here. Now of course, all the things I showed you so far are just a few examples, but the possibilities with this add-in are really endless. So just to give you some more inspiration, I have listed a few more use cases down here. So you could, for example, use this add-in to update your CRM or database from your Excel data. Or you could send WhatsApp or SMS messages directly from a spreadsheet. You could also push report tickets into helpdesk tools, automate reports into Slack or Microsoft Teams, send leads from Excel to email marketing software, create tasks in Asana, or even sync your Google Calendar based on your Excel data. Now, and to show you how everything works and how you can set up your own automation workflows, let me walk you through it using the Slack message example. So the main idea behind XLPrompt is to convert any Excel data into structured format called JSON. To show you how that works, I will select my range again. But this time I will click the Convert Range button. So now 𝗟𝗏 has converted this range into JSON and copied it to my clipboard. So if I open Notepad, for example, I can paste it in, and here you can now see that I've got my Excel data in a structured format. So initially I built this add-in to take this JSON data and paste it into any AI tools like ChatGPT so I could chat about my Excel data. And that is also why it's called XLPrompt. Now, instead of only including Excel data, you could also include some extra details like the workbook name, the sheet name, the range address, row and column counts, the export timestamp, and the total number of cells. Also, instead of just copying it to your clipboard, you can also save it to a file. For example, you can save it directly into your current workbooks directory. So after saving those settings and exporting the range again, a new JSON file will be created and saved in that directory. And when I open it, you will see the same Excel data, but now the JSON also includes the metadata, just like we talked about it. Now, and here's the idea. Instead of saving this data to a file, you can also send it to a server, which can then process the data and even send a response back. And for that, we will use a webhook. Now, let me show you what I mean. So I will head over to this webhook test website. This site will generate a unique webhook URL, and you can find the link right here. So I will copy this link to my clipboard, and then I will go back to XLPrompt. Inside the settings under the webhook tab, I will paste in that URL. And to keep things simple, I will also choose to show the result in a message box. Alright, with that done, I will save and close the settings. So now instead of saving the data to a JSON file, we are gonna send it to that webhook. Here, once again, I will enter my webhook action and click on OK. So once I send the data, I will switch back to the webhook test page. Alright, and here it is. You can now see that we have received the data from Excel. So that means instead of copying the data to my clipboard or saving it to a file, we've sent it directly to this website here. And here, once again, you can see our Excel data, the metadata, and inside the metadata, you will also see the webhook action. Alright, so now that we know how to send Excel data to webhooks and how the data looks like, we can now use no-code tools to trigger all kinds of automation workflows. And there are many no-code automation tools out there like Zapier, Make.com, or NAN. However, in my case, I'm going to use Pply Connect. Now, just to be clear, this video isn't sponsored by Pply. I just use them a lot in my own operations. And if you want to try it out, you can also sign up for a free plan. Now, the big benefit with Pply is that they offer always a lifetime deal. So when you check out the pricing, you will see all the lifetime options listed down here. So that basically means you only pay once and then you can use the tool forever. I personally use the Ultimate plan, but again, you can start with the free plan or even use any other no-code tool. That doesn't really matter. But for the rest of this video, I will use Pply and show you how to create your own automation workflow. So once you sign in, you will want to create a new workflow by clicking this button right here. Next, I will choose the new workflow builder and give it a name, something like send Slack message from Excel. Once you hit OK, you will see this interface here. So this is where you will build your automation pipeline. And every workflow starts with a trigger event. And in our case, that trigger will be a webhook. So let us go ahead and click on Add Trigger and search for a webhook. Once you find it, click on it. Next, for the app event, choose Catch Webhook and then click on Connect. Now by doing that, Pply Connect will generate a unique webhook URL for you. So instead of using the test webhook from earlier, we will use this one here. But before I do that, let me scroll down here and turn off the simple response toggle down here. Alright, now with that said, I will copy the webhook URL to my clipboard. And as soon as I do that, Pply starts listening to any incoming webhooks. So let us go ahead and test it out. Back in Excel, I will open my settings. Then under the webhook tab, I will paste in the URL from Pply and save my settings. Now, once again, I will select my range and send the data to Pply. For the action event, I will call it send Slack. And once I send it, I get a response from Pply, which means it has been successfully received. So let's have a look back in Pply. If I scroll down a bit, you will see all the metadata, including our webhook action. And at the bottom, we've got our Excel data, including the Slack channel ID and the messages we want to send. Alright, and with that, we can now process that data however we want. So after the trigger event, we can add an action, and this defines the next step in your automation flow. And as you can see, there are tons of apps to choose from, like sending emails, posting to YouTube or LinkedIn, asking ChatGPT, updating Google Sheets, and many more. I think in total there are over 1000 apps you can connect with 𝗟𝗡𝗡 Connect. Now in our case we want to send a Slack message. But before I select that, I want to make sure that our workflow is more dynamic. So basically I want to trigger different automations based on the action keyword we sent. And to do that I'm going to use the router app. If you select it, you will get 2 routes by default, but of course you can add or remove as many routes as you want. Now for me, like I said, I will choose the route based on my action keyword. So that means I will connect the filter app and then I can set up the condition. So here we can now look at the data we received from Excel, and from that data we will check the webhook action value. So I will just select it here and then define the filter. That means if the webhook action is equal to send Slack, then we want to continue. So let me go ahead and save that and test the request. Alright, so as you can see our condition is true, so we can now add the next step in our automation pipeline. But before we continue, let's keep things organized and rename this filter so we know exactly what's going on. To do that, just right click on the app icon and you will be able to rename it. In my case, I will call it send Slack. Alright, next we will need one more step before actually sending the messages to Slack, because in this example we are not just sending one message, we are sending multiple messages. That means I need to loop through the data, and to do that we can use the iterator app. So once you find it, just click on it. This app has only one event, which is process array. So I will connect it, and again the data we want to process is coming from the webhook. Now by default you will only see the fields that are arrays, which is in our case the Excel data. So I will select that and send a test request. What it does now is to show you the first set of the data within that array. So if I place my array next to it, you will see this is now our first Slack message. And as it says here, this module will process all the values in the array. So in our case, it will loop through all our Excel data and process all the Slack messages. That means also, now that we have access to each message, we can move on to the final step, which is sending the actual message to Slack. And by the way, you're also not limited to just sending messages. There are actually a lot of other Slack automations you can do, and you will find them all in this list here. But for my use case, I will choose send channel message. Alright, and once you click on connect, you can select your Slack connection. So that means in order to send Slack messages through 𝗟𝗡𝗡, you will need to create a connection. So to do that, just click on add new connection and then connect Slack and follow the instructions. Now in my case, I've already done that, so I will select my existing connection. Next, we can fill out the message details. Now there are a bunch of optional fields, but there are only 2 required ones, which are the channel ID and the message text. Now in our case, we don't want to hardcode those values directly here. Instead, we will map them from our Excel data. So in the channel ID field, I will turn on the toggle to make it dynamic. Then I will click into the field, and from the iterator app, I will select the channel ID. And I will do the same thing for the message. So here I'm just selecting the message field from the iterator. Alright, and that is all we need to do. So now I will scroll down and send a test request. And as soon as I do that, we get a new Slack message. So we can go ahead and check it, and indeed here we can now see our messages. Alright, so this all works now. Now as an optional step, we can also send the data back to Excel, because right now we are only taking the data from Excel and processing it. But we are not returning anything back to Excel. But if you remember my ChatGPT example, so where we analyze the sales report, I actually returned the result back to Excel, and that is actually super easy to do. Basically, once you're done with your automation workflow, you just add the data forwarder app. And then for the app event, choose return custom response to the source. That just means we can send anything we want back to Excel. The only requirement is that it has to be in a JSON format. So it needs to look like this with curly brackets, with a key and a value. Now to keep things simple here, I will just say that the result is that we have sent the Slack messages. Alright, so I will save that, send a test request, and then we can go back to Excel to test it out. Now to really check if it's working, I will also adjust my messages a little bit. And of course, if you want, you can also change the channel IDs or add as many messages as you like. Then once you're ready, just select your range, click send to webhook, confirm your range and enter your action keyword, which is send Slack. Once that is done, you will get a response. And right here, you will now see the custom message we added saying that the Slack messages were sent. But of course, more importantly, if I go back to Slack, we should now see our new messages. And yep, here they are, our messages directly from Excel. Alright, and that is basically how I created all the demos you saw at the beginning of the video. So I have set up a webhook and created different action routes. So for sending emails, SMS, analyzing data with ChatGPT, creating dynamic web pages and sending Slack messages. And once again, those are just a few ideas to give you some inspiration. But feel free to share your own automation ideas in the comments, and I might also create a video on those too. Also, if you now want to try it out and download and install XLPrompt, just head over to my website. You will find the link in the description box below. Now, just to be clear, XLPrompt isn't free, but it's just a small one-time payment. That means you just buy it once and I will send you a lifetime license and a getting started video. And in that video, I will show you exactly how to install the add-in, and it only takes a few minutes. Alright, so once again, let me know your automation ideas in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching and I will see you in the next video.